My name is Harold McMillan. I'm the owner of Housatonic River Outfitters. What I'm going to show you today is a flying ant pattern that was taught to me by a crazy guide out in Montana. And if I can remember his name, he used to sing a song, I'm a guiding son of a bitch, said Bobby Flynn. Bobby Flynn out of Dillon, Montana, taught me this purple ant pattern. It's it's bright purple. I utilize a steelhead dubbing, SLF, purple steelhead dubbing. And for some reason, it works for any ant. It can be a black ant, a cinnamon ant, a red ant. This purple color will catch them. I don't understand why. I didn't invent the pattern, but it works every time. And especially on this river, when you have ants in the water and they want nothing else, this pattern will slay them. I utilize what Del Mazza taught me. I think Del Mazza is probably the finest tyer of Catskill contemporary flies out there. And I had the fortune to learn tying from him. So he taught me how to build a fly. And if you build a fly correctly from the foundation up, it does itself. So I'm going to start at the eye and wind backwards. What I want is a thread to cover the shank. And what that does is that keeps the materials from slipping on the shank, rotating around it, and wherever I put a material and lock it down, it stays. So I'm going to use an elliptical turn to get around the bend and actually wrap down part of the bend of the shank. Now I'm going to come back up the hook and I'm going to begin putting in my dubbing at the spot where I'm going to have the largest part of the abdomen of the ant. The key to the ant pattern, I think, is segmentation. Del Mazza also taught me with dubbing that less is more. You only use enough dubbing to barely increase the diameter of the thread. It'll lay down tighter, you have a lot more control over it, and it will create a prettier fly. I don't know if the fish care, but his flies are beautiful, and he is one of the best fishermen I've ever met. So, what he taught me, I utilize in all my fly patterns. So we'll begin by making a little bit of a lip here. And what this does is this creates pretty much the largest diameter of the abdomen for me, and it gives me a balance point. And I'll show you in a second how I utilize that. And I do this for dry flies, for nymphs, for any pattern that calls for a tapered body. It just makes it much easier to do. Okay. So again, at the front, I'm creating a ledge, and then I'm going to wind back. And this is great dubbing because it's nice and spiky. And spiky is good because it creates animation in an inanimate object and actually creates life, which is key to a fly because, you know, basically they have to think it's a bug. And if it has some hairs or something hanging off of it that move, it's life. And I think therefore it creates a better representation of an insect that they're trying to eat. So by filling this in, as you can see, it's created a very nice tapered segmented body. And that happened for the simple reason that I created a large diameter at the top of the abdomen. Wind forward and then stop where the lip is. Now you pull back the fibers, you wind up maybe 1/8 of an inch. Okay, we've got a nice segmented body. I'm going to trim a little bit of this off the back just to make it look pretty. It really doesn't matter, but that's for me. And now what we need is a crystal flash. And if you ever see an ant flying over the water, the wings are translucent. And if they're in the sun, they almost glow. Again, I don't know if this is a key factor, but it's how I tie the fly, and I find it really effective. So I take crystal flash, and I even up the ends. You don't have to, but again, it makes it easier to work with. I lay it down over the midsection, over the body till it hangs probably maybe 1/8 of an inch back over the body. I take it, lock the material down, give it a couple wraps, and then slowly wind back towards the butt section, guiding the crystal flash to kind of spread out a little bit, just like a wing would. You see that fan pattern? That's kind of when the wings come back on a flying ant. I'm going to trim the front. Okay. I'm actually going to trim this. I think it's a little bit too long. There, I like that better. Much better representation. When we make mistakes, you can always correct it. Also, by winding back and forth, I've created another platform to wind down my hackle. This is a Del Maza signature hackle. You can use anything you want, but he dyed these purple just for me for my flying ant. You really can't buy them, unfortunately, but if you use black or straight purple, it'll get the same results. It really doesn't matter. He dyed these up for me because I'm crazy. But they're beautiful. So I take off a feather. This is actually geared for a 14. This isn't really a dry fly catskill, so I can use a much smaller hackle. Again, it'll keep the fly up, and it'll kind of create legs, but I don't need a full hackle for a size 12. Now the other thing is that I'm tying this ant on a size 12 mustad hook. Most ants are much smaller. You can use this from a 12 all the way down to a 22. I'm just using a bigger ant because it's just easier to see on film. Now, I'm going to tie in the feather, not straight back. I'm going to tie it in like for a dry fly, where it's going to face the direction I'm going to tie, which is like that. And what that does, it's not as necessary for the ant pattern, but for a dry fly pattern, when you wind it on, what it does is it keeps the spine of the fly from torquing. It's just something I do for every fly, and I'm going to do it for this one also. I'm going to cut that little away. And when I wind here, it's going to wind straight. The fibers are not going to twist. Okay. I use teardrop hackle pliers, not because they're better, because I'm used to them. Okay, you grab it. I'm going to wind, and it winds perfectly straight. There's no torquing to it. And I gently wind forward. Until I've come up about 1/16 of an inch. 2 behind, 1 in front. Or 2 in front. Actually, that locks it down. I check to make sure it's locked. By letting go, if it doesn't move, I know I've locked down the fiber. Okay, and I'm going to cut that off. There we go. Hackles are pretty nice and straight, not quite a dry fly, but it's perfect for what I want to do. Now again, because we started here at the front with the beginning of the thread and work back, I know this part of the hook actually has thread over it. So anything I do over it's going to lock down tight, which is really key at the front of the fly because I don't want any of the materials moving around. And this threading I use, the SLF for steelhead, is not a fine dubbing, it's very rough. So again, less is more to keep it on the thread because it's very spiky and it doesn't adhere as easily. Okay, I'm going to pull back the fibers a little bit. Now I want to create the front segmented body and make this baby look like an ant. So I'm making the head now. I've got the abdomen, now I have to make the head. And I really firmly believe that somehow this purple color, when it's in the water, imitates any ant. I don't know why, but again, it was given to me by a great guide, Bobby Flynn. And this way, because I'm lazy and copy the Ed Van Putt style of fishing, I only need one colored fly for all the ants around here. In fact, ants anywhere. So it simplifies my box a little bit. So again, we're making a nice round head here towards the front of the hook to create again an ant segmented body. Okay. I'm going to look. That looks pretty good. We've got the thorax with the nice taper. We've got the crystal flash wing. We've got a hackle here that will help it float, also make it look leggy. I don't know if the fish care, but it is what it is. The fly works. I don't need to dissect it. Okay, I'm going to use a whip finisher. Put a couple of wraps in it. There we go. Wipe it down. And you now have a flying ant with a crystal flash wing on it, if I can cut this. That will catch fish on any water where there's flying ants.